Hey guys, it's Creighton Blue Jacob here, giving you another presentation that I have to do for a class. This is my YouTube channel, so where I just pretty much do school stuff on it. So for my presentation for this, I have to present on why you should be taking German literature to fulfill your Majas Core literature requirement. So the course title is German, so GER 230, German Literature and Translation is the name of it, and it fulfills your literature Majas Core requirement as we talked about. And before I get into the nitty gritty of the class, just to give a quick overview of it, it was a super fun class that I really enjoyed. We got to go through a lot of fun themes and literature and stuff, and we got to explore different time periods of German literature, starting all the way at like the Renaissance area of German literature, and then going all the way up to modern German literature. So it gave you a really wide range of stuff, which was really great for exploring the themes in German literature. We also got to watch some movies. I'll get more into my favorite movie later, but a lot of them were really interesting. They pertained to what we were reading, the themes that we were reading, and overall they just presented ideas very well. So the first thing is I talked about how there are so many different periods in German literature, and we go through a lot of them. I want to point out and highlight two of my favorite time periods that we went through. So one of them were the German fairy tales. I enjoyed these a lot, and it was really great because we all got the choice to read whichever fairy tale we wanted to from German literature. And so this like gave us a lot of variety, and it was really great because when we all came in for a class discussion about it, there were so many different stories we could talk about, and there were a lot of familiars in there like Cinderella, Red Riding Hood, and all those familiar ones. And it was really interesting to see all these fairy tales through a different light. Because in our modern version they're a lot toned down for children and whitewashed a little bit, whereas these older ones they talked a lot more about sexuality and more abuse and stuff like that. So it was really interesting to compare them. The one story that I read that I really liked was Godfather Death. It was a great story about just someone trying to cheat death, and how you should never do that, and it kind of talks to the perils of being a young person trying to escape your fate almost a little bit, which is kind of cool and applicable for people our age. It also had a lot of themes about, religion and love and, family, and it had allusions to religion that were really cool and interesting. So I highly recommend Godfather Death. It was a great story. But my favorite time period we read about was Sturm and Drang, which is translated to storm and stress in English. And so it was like the second period we went over, and it immediately follows the Renaissance. And the Renaissance is all focused on rationality, and it follows the Enlightenment, which is focused on rationality and stuff like that. And so after following the Enlightenment with all that focus on rationality, Storm and Stress, the period, followed up by focusing on the extremes of emotions that are also very important to the human character. The main writer that we read that I really liked was Goethe. He was a real Renaissance man, traveled to Italy, did a lot of cool things down there, wrote some really great, he was a great statesman, and then he wrote a great story too called Werther. It was probably one of the most famous German stories of all time, if not the, and it's a great story about the perils of overzealous love, so you really see the extremes of emotions showing up there. And so it was a really great story. It was one of my favorite stories I've read in a long time, not even in this class, but in anything that I've read recently. And overall, it was great. We also got to watch a movie about it, too. It was called Young Goethe. It was my favorite movie of the year. And the reason I liked it so much is because instead of just going through the story of Werther, it kind of showed you the background of like, it told you the story of Werther, but skipping a few of the story points and not jumping around, but changing the story a little bit, because it focused more on the experience that Goethe had to actually write the story of Werther instead of like the actual story of Werther, which was really interesting. So I thought that was a very interesting one. And then for all the faculty members watching, how does this fulfill Majas Core? That helps you with your communication skills. We did a lot of writing and a lot of reading from great authors. So the reading from great authors, we got many examples on how to communicate ideas with nuance, which was really great. Using nuance in your writing is very important to make it not dull and boring. We also got some practice with writing when we got to do our assignments and stuff like that. Our assignments were based on writing our own literature, or writing stuff about the literature, or writing about history. And all these things, give you a chance to write with nuance, so that was great. We also got to use critical thinking skills. There were a lot of tough themes and ideas in these stories, and there were a lot of different perspectives brought up, not just from the stories themselves, but within class. We had discussions about it a lot, and we used these discussions to kind of explore our ideas and defend our ideas, and it was a really great time for critical thinking experiences. So yeah, overall, it was a great class, a lot of great themes, fun movies to watch, and it will teach you your Majus core. So yeah, overall great.